Hello, everybody. Welcome to This is Surveying. Today's guest is Sonya Swaley. Sonya is a building surveyor apprentice, and I'm pleased to also share with you that recently she won the RICS Matrix Apprentice of the Year Award, which is phenomenal. And congratulations, Sonya, for that, because that is such an achievement. So basically, on this show, no pressure, we have a rising star. So without further ado, as we do with all episodes, if you could tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, maybe why building surveying, why the apprenticeship, that kind of thing, that'll be interesting to provide some context.
Yeah, so I would say my journey to becoming an apprentice wasn't so linear. When I left school, everyone kind of pushes you to go to full-time university. And that was what I initially did. So I left school. I was part of the group of A-level students who didn't actually take their exams because of COVID. So I was handed my grades, and luckily I did quite well. I don't know what would have happened if I actually took the exams. But yeah, so I ended up going to Warwick University to study economics,
Right.
completely unrelated to the construction industry. And then after a year, I thought, actually, this isn't right for me, and moved back home. And I started looking at apprenticeships, and I actually did a A-level in professional construction. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that, and I thought, you know what, that's probably a good route for me to go down. So I applied to some apprenticeships, started working at Martin Arnold, and was on my apprenticeship journey at university, started working. And then around 2 years in, I moved companies to where I am now at Murray Birrell. So I'm 4 and a bit years into my apprenticeship, and we'll be finishing next year.
How long do they take? Sorry, Sonya. How long do they normally take?
So my one's 5 years, but I believe there is a 4-year one as well.
Okay.
But I think you go to university a bit more often just to squeeze the time.
So have you found it, the whole apprenticeship?
It's challenging, definitely challenging, and it's been a lot of fun as well.
Yeah.
I'm someone who quite likes to challenge themselves, and if I'm not learning something new, I get bored quite easily. So the fact
I
that
understand that.
fact that you're learning and applying it at the same time, it makes it a lot easier to study and work. So yeah, it's been good in that sense that, you know, you enjoy it, but yeah, definitely challenging. The last thing sometimes you want to do is get home from work and think, I've got a deadline tomorrow, but it is very rewarding at the end of it.
Yeah. What is it in particular? Because I know one of the things I hear a lot is that we have a shortage of building surveyors. So it's very good that you're on this path, because there is definitely a shortage. What is it about building surveying? Because I know a lot of students can go down like the quantity surveying path. That seems to be one that's really obvious and very heavily promoted. I don't know a lot about it, but that's what I hear. But why building surveying? It's like, why that?
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because obviously we know with the shortage of skilled surveyors and senior surveyors, but then when you look at the opposite end of the scale for people like me who are training, in my lecture halls, it's probably 95% quantity surveyors, a couple of architectural technologists, and there's only 10 of us building surveyors in the cohort this year. So I know that it's normally much smaller than the quantity surveyors. Quantity surveying definitely is the one that's
Why do you think the
more
QS is more? What are your thoughts on that?
It's probably to do with the image of it, and as well, not many people know what building surveyors actually do, and it is less promoted. But actually, the role is, I would say, in my opinion, maybe I'm biased, but I would say it's a lot more varied in what you do, and you have a much broader skill set. So you can do drawings, you can do CAD drawings, you can do valuations, and you're on site, you're in the office. So you do a much broader, I would say, spectrum of things as a
Mm.
building surveyor. And then you also have the opportunity to specialise, whereas maybe for a QS, there's less of that opportunity, but maybe it's potentially to do with the perceived pay. I'm not sure.
That's something I hear a lot, is that the QS's salary bands are higher.
Yeah, and they probably are, but I think with building surveyors, there's a much more drive to get chartered, whereas with my QS peers, you can see that they're actually less driven to go for that, and maybe it's because they don't really need to have it, um,
Mm.
as much as a building surveyor probably would.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, you are, and you're on the chartered path.
Yes, so I've started my APC journey last
Wow.
summer. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, because I hear it is very, very challenging.
It
How are
it
you
is,
finding
yeah.
it?
It's challenging, but also because uni prepares you in
Mm.
a sense for what to expect. So we've already been keeping our diary from the
Ah.
beginning of 2021 when I first started as an apprentice. So in a sense, we're already kind of doing the bits we needed to do
Mm.
and prepares you, but it is obviously a lot of work. So at the moment, doing uni work and AP, it is a lot. Sometimes one has to take a bit of put it on the back
Yeah.
burner and focus on uni in one season, and then you can kind of switch it around. So it definitely is challenging, but it puts you ahead, I would say, because it's easy, really easy to just think, I'll leave that right till the end. But with the apprenticeship, they make you start it whilst you're doing it, and you're
Right.
already prepared. So you slowly chip away at it, and hopefully by the end of next year, I should be ready. Fingers crossed to sit my APC if I'm ready.
Wow. You're doing great. You're doing great. So, going back to the award, how did you I couldn't make it this year to
Oh,
the Matrix Awards, and
yeah.
it's a shame because we would have met, but how did you find it? Was it your first time there?
Yeah, it was my first time there. It was really nice. The company got a table with everyone. My parents came.
Oh, nice.
So we had a lovely night. But it was actually a week later that I got a call and found out about winning the award. So I didn't find out there and then. I
Right.
found out a week later. But the night in general was really good. And it was great to be in a room where everyone was being celebrated for what they do in the industry.
Mm.
And yeah, it was nice to be recognised for what I've been doing as an apprentice. And it's very easy to think you're not doing enough or you could do more. And because it's such a long process, 5 years, you have to
Yeah.
keep motivating yourself. So it was really nice to get that at this point and you're kind of nearing towards the end.
I think the Matrix Awards are really inspiring when you see there's a real
Mm.
buzz in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's that recognition of genuine hard work and how people
Yeah.
have worked so hard to get there. I think it's one of those. I think we need not necessarily more rewards, but I think we need more events like that where there is
Mm.
the ability for surveyors and students, apprentices to come together in that kind of environment. How
Yeah.
do you find, like, just something I'm curious about, like with networking and things, or with other people outside of your work? Do you ever go
Mm.
to any meetups? Is there anything in your area?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot out there,
Right. Okay.
um, aside from work. So generally for apprentices, I've signed up with the Association of Apprentices. So
Right.
that's across all industries, and I've attended a few of their events. And actually, it's really interesting to speak to other apprentices because they're also working towards their endpoint assessment
Yeah.
and having their own experiences at work, and you can kind of share your experiences and what works and what doesn't, and how you all kind of have that community, which is really nice
Mm.
because for someone like me, I'm the only apprentice in my company.
Yeah.
I'm their first and only apprentice, so getting outside of the work environment and speaking to other apprentices, it's nice to be able to connect and network. And you do end up finding other building surveyors or quantity surveyors in these rooms. So it is really good.
Mm.
I know there's another one called Outer Circle.
Okay.
I haven't personally been to one of their events, but
Mm,
I see a lot of it on LinkedIn, and they organise some really nice events. I think they have a gala planned
yeah.
after Christmas. So there's plenty out there for apprentices to network.
It's
Wi
like it's something you'd recommend to other apprentices, going to, for example, the association apprenticeship.
Mm.
It sounds like a really, yeah, because I don't know much about that. So it kind of makes sense because like you say, if you're the only one, especially, which a lot of apprentices are in firms, if you're the only one, it's nice to be able to, even if someone's not on the same route as
Mhm.
you can kind of share the same sort of challenges
Yeah.
because they will be
Yeah,
across the board.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay. So speaking of employers, I think when we've spoken before, we've talked about one of the areas is, encouraging more employers to take on apprenticeships, I think, because I think there's been more talk about it. I think there are more initiatives about it across the profession, apprenticeships,
Yeah.
which I think is good because I'm really, really a big sort of ambassador for apprenticeships. I think they're incredible. I think we need more of them, and we do need more firms to take on apprenticeships. But I'm interested in your thoughts on if an employer was to take on an apprenticeship, what's the experience like for them and for you and how you've experienced that yourself?
Yeah, so as I said, I was the first apprentice at my company. I think they were
Mm,
probably looking for a graduate, and then I obviously went for the interview and explained that I'm on this apprenticeship. And the uni was really good. So I go to London South Bank University,
mm,
and they take you through the whole enrolment process. So they dealt with all of that, the paperwork. Obviously, when I enrolled to my company now, I already had 2 years experience. So maybe slightly different from an apprentice who's just left school and
mm,
about to start. But I would say in a way for an employer there's a benefit to that because you're training them from the start, and in many ways a graduate will also be very fresh in that sense. Yes, they have the theory and they've probably heard all the terms before, but from what I can see at university and what I'm learning, you don't go into that depth enough to
mm,
prepare you for exactly how things go in the day to day. So, in a sense, you're almost teaching a grad the same thing that an apprentice would. They're just, a bit greener. Um, I did actually speak to another firm who was looking at taking on an apprentice and sat down with the young student who was looking to join the firm
mm.
and just explained to him the benefits. So, as an apprentice, obviously you're earning,
Yeah,
you're studying towards a degree, you're going to get chartered by the end of it, and you don't have any student debt. So there's so many benefits to it. Yes, it's
that's
challenging,
huge.
but it's if
Yeah.
you want it. And as well for employers, I think if you're a small employer, you can apply for government funding for I think it's between 95 to 100% of the apprentices' studying fees. So
Wow. Okay.
there is a lot of support out there. Obviously, you need to just check if you're eligible, but um, I think not as many people know about it or how to go about it and start the process. So I think it's important that it is looked into, and it is about reaching out to those universities and partnering with them
Mm,
because there are definitely a lot of people who would I know students who would benefit from a career like this. It's something that if you don't like sitting still for too long and you get a bit fidgety like me,
yeah.
then and your week's gonna be different each week and
Yeah.
you stay stimulated.
Variety.
So I think for a lot of students, a career like this would actually really stand out. It's just about creating that opportunity for them.
Yeah. I think you've got a really one of the really important points that stands out is around that kind of on the job training from day one, earning obviously no student debt. That's amazing. But it's that right from day one, you're having to learn communication skills, for example, that I've mentioned before, which is like so fundamental. And yes, obviously there are similar sort of training and routes with a graduate, but I think with apprenticeships, there's just more. There's also a vested thing, isn't it? Because you're employed. It's
Mm.
kind of, and also for the firm, I would imagine what's really good about it is that, like, you'll all be well chartered next year. Next year, is that correct? You said next year.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I have strong confidence in you. Is that you'll be chartered next year, and they have somebody that is chartered, that works with them,
Mm.
works for them, and you've learned their ways of working, their culture,
Mhm.
all those kind of things. And then you're also best placed if maybe in the future, say, for example, they were bringing on someone who, you can almost show the road. There's all sorts of different upsides, I think, to it. And obviously, it doesn't suit everybody, but I think it opens more doors for people. It makes it more accessible, those apprenticeships, to more people that
Yeah,
can't
definitely.
can't even begin to consider university.
I would say as well, touching on your point about growing in confidence and communication, I've seen from just my own journey how I was so shy and nervous at the beginning to be in these client meetings. And, you don't normally admit that you feel nervous or
Mm,
you just got to turn up and be ready. But actually, as an apprentice, you are going to feel that at the beginning. And it's crazy how over the past few years, you really feel the shift in confidence and the shift in your knowledge, your skills, and how you act. And it's made my confidence grow so, so much. And it's not just about, the knowledge or the experience or the skills. You grow personally a lot in an apprenticeship.
mm, mm.
And even how you carry yourself. I remember when I had my first kind of challenging conversation with a contractor on site.
Right.
And this was a couple of years ago, but I was going onto site knowing that there was going to be some sort of conversation
Yeah.
because I could just tell by the tone before I arrived on site that
This is gonna
I'm
be
going to have to
difficult.
have a difficult conversation. And
Yeah.
you know what? I think I handled it really well. You tackle it with kindness and you tackle it with facts. And I laid out the facts, and actually, it completely diffused the situation.
Mm,
And coming out of that experience being so positive, and you just keep building on that and compounding those experiences, and it just sets you up to go even further.
mm. I think I can imagine a lot of challenging conversations dealing with contractors, construction, all the areas you hear a lot of
Yeah.
things. And it's that ability to be able to, like you say, stick to the facts, maintain a professionalism, you know, and not always take it personally. And that's not always an
Mhm.
easy thing, but these are things that you learn over time is how to deal with
Yeah,
the situations. And if you're dealing with things very early on, then you do mature, you do grow fast because you're thrown
absolutely.
into scenarios that maybe you wouldn't have been, and then you have to deal with it.
Yeah, I do always think that. I think you get a lot of responsibility, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come without supervision. So
Mm,
it's not that you feel lost and you have to work everything out yourself. You always have that support, which is important, but you also have the chance to stand on your own 2 feet. So you get the balance of both of those perspectives, which is good.
that's good. Is there anything else in particular that you'd like people to hear about or understand, or any thoughts or opinions you've got on anything particular, either around, your own pathway, building surveying in general, anything like that? Um, So one of the things, obviously, a rising star, an award winner, but also you're a woman in surveying, which is obviously a very male-dominated profession. I don't know what the current figures are, but it's something around, I think it's around 85% male and 50% female. So what are your thoughts about being a woman in surveying? And, is anything that you've had to deal with, or, would you encourage other women to do it, that kind of thing?
Mhm. I think maybe at the beginning when I first started, you see the fact that it's male dominated, and it doesn't necessarily surprise you, but you notice it,
Mm.
and maybe you do things a certain way, or you steer clear of, certain conversations because you are maybe the only woman in the room. But after a while, I think you don't see it anymore. You don't focus
Right.
on that. I think it is important, obviously, for more women to get into surveying and also into the industry, because there are so many amazing groups out there. For example, I think there's a Women in Property, a Women in Construction,
Yeah.
and I've been to a couple of their events. And it's great to connect with people in the industry, because sometimes you find that in this role you don't come across many women.
Yeah.
Luckily at my firm, actually, there's a lot of women. I think it's like 50% is probably
Oh, really?
women in our firm. Yeah,
Excellent.
which is great.
Yeah.
But we're also a very small firm, so
Yeah.
it's great to connect with other women in the industry and just share experiences and connect. And you can hear about other people who've taken the APC and how that's been for them. So I'd say at the beginning, maybe I thought, is this going to be a challenge? And sometimes you maybe think it is, that you walk on site and people have preconceived thoughts
Yeah.
before you even open your mouth. But you tend not to focus on those things, because if you know what you're doing and you know what you're saying, then it doesn't have to be the focal point.
No, no, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. What would you say around sort of your experiences with building surveying? What is it that makes this might be a difficult question, I don't know. What makes
Yeah.
a good building surveyor in your thoughts?
I personally think at the heart of the profession,
Mm.
building surveyors are problem solvers, and they will act in the best interest of their clients. So it's about working from the bottom and creating a story of what's the cause, what's the effect, and what's the solution. And there's building surveyors, I would say, are very methodical, as I said, problem solvers. So that's why building surveying for me is something that I'm very passionate about, because I love problem solving. I love a
Right.
challenge.
Okay.
And you know that no two problems are going to be the same. You
Yeah.
can go to two separate buildings and they'll have the same issue, but they're two completely separate buildings. So in that sense, you're never coming across the same thing. And there's a beauty in that.
No, I know. I totally get that. The amount of surveys that say to me, no matter what age, every day is a school day. Every day you can
Yeah.
literally be experienced for 30, 40, even 50 years, and you will see something that you've never seen before. What is the part, and I think I might know the answer, but what is the part that you tend to enjoy the most that you do?
That is a difficult question,
Yeah.
because you it's almost, you don't enjoy a
Yeah.
particular part of it. You enjoy
Okay.
kind of the process of everything combined.
Right.
Yes, I like going to site, but I probably wouldn't like going to site every single day.
Okay.
So I think I like that you have a bit of everything, and even with going to uni once a week, I think for me that's important, to be able to actually learn the theory behind things,
Mm,
because obviously learning on the job is very important, but you also need to learn why you're doing that.
yeah.
So naturally, it is the learning element of what I'm doing that I enjoy the most.
Site. Is there any area that you are interested in as a specialism, or, some building surveyors will go into certain, like,
Mm.
heritage conservation, that kind of thing?
It's difficult to say,
Yeah, sure.
'cause we do also have party wall and licenses in our company, which I have had a little bit of exposure to,
Mm,
but not so much at this stage. Obviously, I'm trying to get chartered, and you kind of stick on your set route and you do a little bit for experience. But at the moment, I haven't delved into, everything that's out there. I
sure.
would say when I first started, I was doing predominantly new builds. And then moving over to Murrayville, we work on a lot of heritage buildings, listed buildings. Definitely, I prefer that to new builds.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of
Yeah,
history in the
I
buildings,
can imagine, yeah.
and yeah, snagging 4 white walls is not as interesting as,
Yeah, totally get it. I absolutely love old buildings, so yeah, I can
Mm,
totally understand that. That would be I can see the snagging side being quite monotonous and
yeah,
less
definitely.
less variety of defects as well. You know, the older the
Yeah.
building, the more you're gonna see.
Yeah, no, it is good going from working on new builds, and you see the foundations going, and you see it go from the ground until it's complete and the people are living in there, which is a completely separate thing to working on refurbishment projects on these older buildings. But
Yeah.
I think both of them I definitely learnt a lot, but I do prefer, I would say, what I'm doing now.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anyone in your family, that is in this area in surveying, as a matter of interest?
No, no one that I know of in my
Yeah,
family is doing
okay.
surveying. Yeah, my parents have always kind of been in the property construction kind of sectors. My dad used to
Right.
work in cladding, and now they both run their own business together,
Ah,
selling
okay.
materials. So they've always been in that kind of industry, which
Yeah,
probably had an effect on me.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, but no, not that I know of.
Yeah, 'cause it's I like to ask people 'cause, some people so many, like, go into surveying because it's of, either parents or close family
Mm,
members, and
yeah.
that's how
There's
have
a
you
lot of people,
yeah.
yeah, that do that. Because at uni, I was, "Oh, yeah, my dad has a surveying firm," or, "My
Ah,
uncle does
right.
this," so and I thought, "Oh, okay." That's good.
Yeah. Have you ever had when someone asks you, "What do you always find it a difficult thing to explain?"
Yeah, definitely. My best friend, she still doesn't know what I do. Every time I see her, she's like, "What do you do again?" I try to explain it to her, and she's like, "You know what? You're doing great, whatever you're doing." So
It's funny, it's one of those things that it can be really hard to explain.
Mm. It is funny because everyone will think you're doing something different. My grandparents think I build houses. So, you try to explain, but it's hard, it really is hard to explain until you've done part of the job so that
Right.
yeah, so even me going into the job, you can learn what you do, but you don't actually know until you do it, I would say.
Yeah. I think it can be I think surveying in general, it's one of the things I'm, working hard with Surveys UK just to make surveying more known and understood and this
Mm.
kind of thing and an awareness of it. But, I for during COVID, I trained to be residential surveyor and valuer, and I remember telling people, "I'm gonna do this," and they were just like, "What?" And I kind of explain it, and in residential surveying, it's a bit easier because a lot of people may have experienced it. It's one of those areas that you might experience it surveying because if you've ever sold or bought a
Mm.
house.
Yeah,
But other types of surveying, it's
yeah.
not something you come across, like a party wall surveyor, unless you've had a party wall issue. You just
Yeah.
don't. But I think the term surveyor and stuff, and not it being easy to explain or for people to comprehend, I do wonder if that can really impact then encouraging people to come in to the profession when it's actually difficult in itself to
Yeah.
grasp. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you mean, and as well, it's like you never even think about it until you need one,
Yeah.
which is and then when you find out, you're like, "Oh, okay, didn't know they existed."
Yeah, and those have just popped about the woodwork. Whereas, like I've always said, everyone knows an accountant or a solicitor.
Yeah.
They kind of even when you're young, you had an idea of what that would be.
Mm.
But you say surveyor and they go,
Yeah.
"What?" It's like they just
Yeah,
no concept.
even in school, I mean, I was really lucky to have that construction A level, but
Mm.
we were one in 2 schools in the country that was offering that, so you can see
Wow.
how it no one really does it, and I actually found out earlier this year that my old school's stopping it. So, it's really a shame. I'm sure there's loads of colleges that probably do something, similar, but
Mm.
these kind of professions aren't, exposed to younger generations and
No.
students who, if they're not kind of steered in that not steered in the direction, but at least exposed to what is out there, then they're never gonna know unless it's, those headline kind of careers.
I know, and I think there is a lot. I know there is always a lot of push for QS, and I think QS can be easier to explain, I think,
Mm.
as a profession. But when I think about when I look back and I did a geography A level, I love geography. And when I think about it, even in geography, we did what at that time it was like urban geography, rural geography. When we did urban geography, it could have been it could be such an easy thing to include in the curriculum, just something around
Mm.
surveying. Just literally a module or
Yeah.
something, and you could put that in. I know there are the conversations I have seen talking about GCSEs
Mm.
and things like that, and I think for built environment GCSE, I think is being discussed.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, that would be really good. Yeah, because
amazing.
again, my school does still do that one, which is really good. But it's just making sure that they continue to, and it
Mm,
becomes more widespread. But I would say even with the school's careers fairs, they're really a good opportunity to just tell students what surveying's really about.
mm. Okay, is there anything else before we sort of sign off for today that you wanna mention? Or I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I've noticed you are, which is great, and I
Mm.
think that more and more younger professionals should be more present on LinkedIn, and you do
Definitely.
great posts. Is that something you've just learnt yourself, and how have you found it, like, doing that kind of thing on LinkedIn, and how do you think it benefits you?
I think it is important. I think there's mixed views about LinkedIn about,
Okay.
in one sense, people say you're kind of just shouting out, I've done this, I've done that. But really, I would say the core reason that I think LinkedIn is good to use as a tool, especially for a young person, is that you get to connect with so many people across the industry.
Mm,
And it's interesting that actually people have reached out to me to ask me, can you tell me about what you do? Because actually I'm interested in looking at
yeah,
doing surveying. So it's not just about you taking knowledge and information from LinkedIn. You can also give back information
yeah,
and help others out. I mean, I've been doing the apprenticeship for 4 years now, but at the start, you kind of just connect with as many people as you can to make your outreach as big as possible.
brilliant, yeah,
You learn from others and you can learn some really interesting stories on there.
you can,
Um, and luckily you can filter out what you don't want to see.
yeah,
But then I think it is a good chance to spread your story a little bit and what you get up to, because it's easy to just, hit these little milestones and think, oh yeah, I've done that. But
mm.
it's almost also a little portfolio for yourself to remember these things that you've done and your
It
experiences.
is. Yeah, it's professional. It's not like the Facebooks where, "Oh, this time last year I was here having this party." It's
Yeah.
more like it's a professional, isn't it? Like your
Mm.
story and your journey. And I think
Yeah.
it's so right about the fact it is two ways, LinkedIn.
Mm.
And, you know, I mean, I used to feel like that a long time ago, like, "Oh, I don't wanna mention this. I don't wanna," but you can mention things in a way that it isn't about bragging, it's about sharing things, because
Yeah.
the important thing to mention also for someone like you will be an inspiration for others looking at your posts and looking at the fact that you've won this award. That's inspiring for other people thinking about it. And I think that's part of what I'm trying to do with this podcast is so that people can hear from other people's stories and think, "Ah, yes, you know, that's something that would interest me. I'd like to learn a bit more about that." I had, very briefly, I had someone come up to me at an event last year, and he said the reason he decided to start training to be a residential surveyor was because he heard me on a podcast.
Really?
And he
Oh.
just the next day, he booked on the course and off he went, and that was an amazing thing when he came up to me. I was like he said, "I just wanna thank," but it's those kind of things, so that'll be the same, that people won't necessarily have liked your post, people won't necessarily have commented, but they're watching, and they're seeing
Mm.
you, young, going through an apprentice route, heading towards chartership, winning an award, and I think that's just inspiring for other people, that they see that. So you're doing good in that way as well. It's not all one
Yeah.
way. And the fact that your people are coming to you and reaching out to you and asking you questions is great because that's what it's all about. And
It is
it's
really
really
nice
good
because
to
I feel
see.
like I'm always learning from others.
Yeah.
So, at least in some sense, I can give a bit of my experience to people younger than me who are
Yeah.
just starting fresh.
It's a give and take thing. And I think that's the important thing when you're using something like LinkedIn is that, you know, sadly, what I see a lot of can be not necessarily in surveying, but just generally is just like people just post one way. They never engage with others. They don't connect.
Mm.
It can be like, look at me. Whereas if you use it as a medium where you can read posts, I mean, as you will have probably experienced, you can meet amazing people that
Mhm.
you'd never meet in real life, like in the scenario, and then
Yeah.
you can connect with them. And then there's always that person then that you can go to in the future if something comes up and you think, oh, I know that
Mm.
person on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. Even events. You find
Right.
out about so many events and networking opportunities on
Mm.
LinkedIn that you probably wouldn't hear of otherwise. So even if you don't want to post, it's just a great platform to stay involved in whichever industry you're in, but surveying obviously particularly.
Yeah, but I think it's great, and I think we need more and more people like you to do that kind of posting and stuff because I think there's a lot that won't surveyors don't like to post. They don't like to
Mm.
post on LinkedIn. It's social media is a bit of a Marmite thing, and I think it's
Yeah.
majority of people just read LinkedIn. They don't actually engage, but so it's really
Mm.
good, and just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing it. I think
Thank
it's
you.
inspiring, and yeah, it's been lovely to talk to you today. I've really
Oh,
enjoyed our
thank you.
conversation. It's been
Me too.
really
It's
good.
been lovely chatting with you.
Yeah, and you too, Sonia. And like I say, I shall put the things that we've mentioned, sort of the association apprenticeships, your LinkedIn, and then there was the outer circle, I think, that you mentioned,
Yes.
and maybe the women in property, women in construction. We could
Mhm.
include some links on there. So if anyone's listening, you can just go to the show notes. You can also connect up with you as well. But thank you very much for today, Sonia. I really appreciate it and appreciate your time.
Thank you.